another tidy West Indian over. Scoring very difficult for Zimbabwe at this point, but they have to make sure that they weather this period. They have to make sure that they build slowly on this score and have wickets in hand later on. Not easy conditions for batting.
Taylor, Chikumbura, Stradum to follow. We'll be watching anxiously from the change room. Big tour this for the Zimbabweans. Well documented the problems that they've had within the cricket in Zimbabwe. The team they've put together is inexperienced, and they need to do well. They need to come out here and not be humiliated. Speaking to the coach, Kevin Curran, before start of play, he is optimistic. He said that if we can keep to our game plans, then we should do all right out here. Too high.
Well, whichever way it goes for me, I think this is going to be a very good experience for this young team. The average age of this team is 21. And this will be an excellent experience for them, and can only do, you know, good for them as they go along, as they develop, you know. So whether they win or not, it's very important that they play well.
It's a difficult thing for them coming on this tour. Like you say, the average age 21. To look at that last delivery, good seam, nicely upright, just hits the seam and goes back towards the stump, but bounces over them. Well left by Chibaba. Just talking about these young Zimbabwean players, speaking to one of the support staff in the Zimbabwean touring party, and they were saying that they all looked very nervous at breakfast this morning. Reason for that obviously being it's their first tour. It's a big tour for them, big games. And when Brian Lara walked past a few of them sitting at breakfast and said, "Good morning, how are you doing, guys?" They're all not too sure how to reply, you know. Brian Lara, 37 years of age, I think now. And some of these guys in the Zimbabweans set up 19 years of age. It's about half his age, and they've grown up, and being Zimbabweans, the young black kids at least will have been looking and saying, you know, I want to be like Brian Lara. Now they've got to stand out on the field with him and play against him and try and beat him. Something to contend with in the mind, that's for sure. Big mix up here. It's the stumps. $14 for 1.
Bit of inaccuracy there from Monaco Martin. Opportunity goes a begging to take another Zimbabwean wicket.
Monaco Morton, he was the man at second slip. Let's look at the delivery. Looking to drive, hitting the bottom of his bat, going onto his foot. Would have been out. Missed the target. Big mix-up between the batsmen. Going to take a single with the ball going just in front of the slip fielders. Didn't miss by much though. Will be opening the batting. Morton. Just one recognised opener in the West Indies team, from Chris Gale. And the story goes that 5 people put their hands up when the captain, Brian Lara, asked who wants to open the batting.
I've always believed, be careful what you ask for, you might just get it.
Well, Morton's got it, that's for sure. 10 overs have gone. That's the first power play. Question is, will the second one be taken? And there's your answer. Second power play commences now. Nicely done, going across the left-hander. Still 2 slips in position. Now, they are not necessary, as it were, not compulsory in this second power play. In the first 10, you've got to have 2 fielders catching. Now, Brian Lara has decided that he'll continue with the pressure. 14 for 1. There's no real onslaught as far as runs is concerned, and so he's decided that he'll enforce the second power play and get the restrictions out the way. He's only allowed 2 fielders out of the circle, the 30-yard circle. All the others have to be inside, but not necessarily catching. But with the ball darting around like that and Bravo getting it to go past the outside edge of Terence Duffin, he's going to keep some slips in. He's going to keep fielders in catching positions. But that's what he has decided.
This is a second excellent delivery from Dwayne Bravo. Touches down and just nips away off the seam.
Just can't get it through the field. When they get in the middle of the bat, it's finding the fielder all the time. The scoreboard is not ticking. The pressure is building. Jeff Dujon at the start of our commentary stint said it's going to be about patience. How long can they wait? How long can they just keep hanging in there?
Well, to be honest, there hasn't been a lot to hit.
Good delivery.
Rinky committing himself a bit to the front foot, a bit early, and that limits him playing square of the wicket. It's rather Duffin. Doesn't really wait to see what the length is. Starts to push that front foot down the wicket early.
He's got one this time. Had to have the backup. Would have been lots of extra runs. It's the end of the 11th. 15 for 1. The overs catching up with the runs here. 11 overs bowled and 15 runs for the loss of 1 wicket. The Zimbabweans are going to have to start trying to score in some way or other. Yes, it's about wickets in hand, but they've still got to maneuver it around and make sure the board is ticking. Taylor, Chikumbura, Stratham, Dabengwa all like to hit the ball. It's not going to be easy on this wicket. They're hoping that it can dry out, get a bit harder. That'll be wide. Slower delivery gone wrong.
See the intention here from Jerome Taylor to just let that go out of the fingers like an off spinner, but just didn't quite leave his hand the way he wanted.
Preferred to Corey Collymore. Jeff, preferred to Corey Collymore. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Corey Collymore, who was just coming off an injury, has been short of cricket. Jerome Taylor bowled very well in New Zealand, and is come along in the lap. It doesn't really surprise me that he would be preferred. Has a little bit more pace, and as we can see, is quite accurate.
Leg by should only be 1 run. Dwayne Bravo, the man down at fine leg, very good fielder. Athletic, gets to the ball quickly, and has got a really good arm as well.
It's at times like this when runs are at a premium that running between the wickets is very, very important. You know, that first run needs to be run very hard, just in case there's an overthrow, just in case there's a misfield. But Zimbabwe in this position have to take every run that they can possibly get.
Bit of swing that time, squaring the batsman up.
Again, that nice upright seam. Just getting whatever movement there is off this pitch, Jerome Taylor.
Adu's your coach. You'll be sitting there, Zimbabwe 17 for 1, 11 overs gone. What would you be telling the batsmen to come? Nicely done. Short, wide. Hasn't quite got it in front of square though, so only gets 1 for it.
Well, I'd be telling them to look for opportunities to score. Like this, where Chibaba is given a little bit of room, where he can use his arms and gets on top of that nicely. Steers it down back with a point. Runs are hard to get, are hard to come by. It's going to be a matter of patience, of consolidation, not losing any wickets in this first 15-20 overs. And as things ease up, the wicket gets a little drier, then it'll be easier to score.
And what is that period where it's going to be difficult, or when do you anticipate that it would get easier?
I would reckon closer to the middle of the innings, when the pitch dries out a little bit, and if one of the early batsmen is still there and has been there for a while.
And so a target for when you get to about 20-25 overs, what would you say?
It's difficult to say at this run rate. Very difficult.
Short one to end the over. 18 for 1. West Indies will be very comfortable with the way things are going. 18 for 1, 12 overs gone. There's not too many decisions to be made by Captain Brian Lara, who can really just sit back as the pressure continues to build on the Zimbabweans.
I thought early on there could have been 1 or 2 men close in catching with the way the wicket was playing and the odd one that was popping around. That was, I think, an opportunity missed by the West Indies.
That may be called wide. It isn't. It's one over the shoulder though. Here's a look at it from side on to determine exactly how high it was. It's very high.
Just being confirmed by the umpire at square leg.
Lovely conditions to be a bowler. Just run up and you bowl just outside the off stump, hit a length, and particularly bowling towards that side where there were the damp patches, the dark patches that were a bit soft, and the ball just rearing up at the batsman. Very difficult to play your shots. That's a lovely shot. He's had a go at that. It's gone onto the onside. May have intended to hit it on the other side, on the offside, but he's got 3 runs for it.
And this is what we're talking about taking advantage of opportunities. Ball pitched a little bit further up than he's seen for a while, and just getting that through the onside. He didn't time it like he might have wanted to. Took the inside half, but a couple of runs nevertheless.
He's troubled him all through his now nearly 3 over spell. He's troubled Terence Duffin, the left-hander, just gone across him. This one a bit shorter. Duffin looking to play off the back foot, but not enough room to free those arms just past the outside edge. It's up in the air and it's gone down to third man. Duffin pushing forward in the outside edge, and he'll be quite happy because he's rotated the strike.
You asked a bit about tactics at this point, Pommy, as that one just takes high on the bat on outside edge, but again goes into a gap for runs. At a point like this, an experienced team, I think, would look at Bravo as the slower of the 2 bowlers and take a few chances with him. But we can't really expect a team of this experience to do that.
22 for 1. For 1 after 13 overs. The crowd has not particularly been entertained in the way of runs or boundaries going off. There hasn't been a boundary scored. No 4s, no 6s. Shouldn't be too much of a surprise with 22 on the board after 13. It's been all West Indies. The Zimbabweans just hanging in there. It's also got to be mentioned that the pitch is a rather difficult one. Zimbabweans looking not to take chances, just playing it as it comes, and you're going to leave as much as possible, really. Ian Bradshaw into the attack. He starts well as well, starts with the dot ball. It's the order of the day, just ball back of a length. Zimbabweans finding it difficult to score the pitch a bit up and down, and so you cannot freely just hit through the line. The first wicket that did go down, the only wicket that has gone down, to Taylor, that of Rinky, Pete Rinky, caught at mid-wicket really. Smith coming round from square leg. And he was just trying to tuck the ball onto that onside in similar fashion to what Terence Duffin has just done there. It's going to be hard going, but somebody's going to have to take a chance because they need to post a decent total here to challenge the West Indies. At 22 for 1 after 13, they have lots and lots of work to do. Another one goes by the off stump, left alone by Duffin. Difficult times, not so exciting if you're watching the cricket. I'm sure that Zimbabwe will try and take it on at some point. They'll have no choice. Change up here in the commentary box. Tony Cozier is with Jeremy Coney.
Thank you, Pommy. Gone through, that'll be the first boundary. So Duffin strong on the offside, as we've seen in this brief innings already, and gets the first boundary of the Zimbabwe innings.
Hasn't been easy batting for the Zimbabwe men, but anything that's full and wide, or anything that is short, gives an opportunity to score. Gets a good piece of that.
That's where Bradshaw wants it. Just some movement off the pitch. Got to get his line and length right. It's been a very flat performance by the West Indies here. You look at the board and you say, well, how can you say that? 26 for 1 from 13 overs and 5 balls. But really, West Indies would have felt that they should have had, 4 or 5 wickets already in the circumstances. They've only got one, and Zimbabwe are 26 for 1 at the end of 14 overs. There's Ramnaresh Shawan, twice the vice-captain of the West Indies team. No vice-captain named when Lara was reappointed for the 3rd time. And we're still trying to find out whether one has been appointed for this match. Bravo now will continue. Chababa in strike. Just suddenly the batting becoming a little bit easier as the pitch loses its early venom. Was soft in patches and the ball was stopping, ball was lobbing in the air. West Indies had no close fielders to take catches which were available.
Well, you could be forgiven looking at the figures. 26 for 1 after nearly we're in the 15th over, Tony. Goes hard at it. It's going to get another boundary. So that's 2 boundaries and 2 overs for the Zimbabwe batsman now. But you could be forgiven for thinking this has been a rather insipid and uncertain batting display. It hasn't been like that at all. Zimbabwe have had to work very hard, and I think the West Indies have missed a trick. They haven't had the men, I don't think the right men bowling. This is a pitch that requires control bowlers. Bowlers who value accuracy, not pace, just straight accuracy. Bringing batsmen forward, using a pitch that is soft and damp, that's taking a piece just out of the pitch sometimes, lifting, creating uncertainty. This was just before play, and you can see the little deep dots of moisture on this pitch as we just hoover our way through the pitch. Quite well grassed and a good distribution of grass on it.
Nicely played, waited for the slow ball. Gets it down to fine leg. Duffin dropped. Straightforward catch by Ramdin early in the piece. He was walking away, in fact. There's that slow ball. And Chababa just waiting for it and putting it away. But it has been a flat performance by the West Indies. They just haven't taken advantage of the conditions.
I think you also need to have, as you quite rightly mentioned, players in positions that are somewhat unusual perhaps. There's the catch that you're talking about. Because it hit the gloves, it came more slowly than Ramdin expected, and it really took a parabola, really going slowly to him. Batsman started to walk. Very comfortable catch for a keeper. Tumbling forward in the end, trying to take the catch.
Ends the over from Bravo, and Zimbabwe have moved on to 31 for 1. Billy Gordon just getting everything in order so he can signal the power play. Watch that shoulder doesn't come off, Billy.
Could try the pitch out, that one.
VC Bird International Airport is not too far away. Would need clearance, of course, before he took off. Here's Bradshaw. Just too short. Now, those who have watched coverage from overseas would have seen the snickle being used. It's the first time we're using it here in the West Indies. And just an indication the ball flicked the glove. Those of you may have seen it, if not on television coverage, in intensive care wards in hospitals. But what it says here is gives an indication of whether the ball has hit the bat or the gloves, and it's pretty well infallible as far as that's concerned. Of course, when it comes off the glove, there's a softer impact, so what we see on Snicko is not quite as pronounced as when it does hit the wood. There it is. That came from the glove, so it's just a small indication on Snicko. When it does come from the wood, then it would be a much bigger.
Yeah, much higher line that would be, wouldn't it? You'd be concerned if that was your ECG. The cost, of course, as far as Zimbabwe are concerned, even though they've only lost one wicket, the cost is overs. But we've now reached a second phase in the rhythm of the match. The first part we've seen is very much for the West Indies. They haven't really grasped that initiative that they were given with the toss. Now we're seeing Zimbabwe coming back into the game, and the second phase is runs are starting to flow.
Of course, the question that any captain has to decide in a one-day international, even when the pitch is such as it is, do they go for wickets early on? Is Lara here content with how things are going? 32 runs on the board, only one wicket down, but 16 overs have gone. But you've got to consider also the standard of the opposition. He's playing it as if he's playing India on a good pitch. Threaded it through. They'll look for a second here. Lara's onto it there. Go for the second. And good running. Done a lot of homework, the Zimbabweans, on their out cricket. 34 for 1, 16 overs gone, and the first drinks break of the day in the first of the 7 one-day internationals between Zimbabwe and the West Indies here at the Antigua Recreation Ground. Lovely morning here in St. John's, Antigua for the opening match of the one-day series between Zimbabwe and the West Indies. Zimbabwe sent in and found it very, very difficult on an untrustworthy pitch. They've had 16 overs, but they've only lost 1 wicket, and that wicket was in the second over. Since then, Duffy and Chibaba have batted very well together. They haven't scored quickly, but this is not the type of a pitch for them to do that. But they've held on, and they're together.
Well, let's have a look at those first 15 overs. It was in the second over when Rinky just got a little bit out in front of himself and was taken comfortably by Smith. Then there was the catch, and the opportunity went down to Ramden. And then a run-out opportunity as well was missed by the West Indies. Morton, the man trying to run Chibaba out. But since then, there's been boundaries starting to occur from the Zimbabwe batsmen, Duffin, the captain, and Chibaba as well. So 34 for 1 from 16 overs now. 4 bowlers have been used. Fidel Edwards, and all of them look pretty impressive. But they really haven't been quite on song. They haven't got enough balls in the right place, or have the right field settings been placed to create wicket-taking opportunities. So while the West Indies have bowled 16 overs and suppressed the run rate, they haven't taken many wickets. Just Jerome Taylor 1 for 6, the successful bowler.
West Indies omitted Marlon Samuels and Corey Cullimore from the 13 in their squad. Here's Bravo as we continue now after the drinks break. Well, that's what I mean about this pitch. You've been hearing Jeremy Coney and Jeffrey Dujon. They talked about it from the beginning, from even before a ball was bowled in this pitch inspection. And they predicted how this pitch would be difficult, in that the little indentations which the dampness is allowing, making the ball stop every now and again. Dwayne Smith, medium pacer, is also available to Lara, and Chris Gale, the off spinner. Four bowlers here, and those are the other 2. Bravo back bowling now. Injured himself in the first match of the New Zealand tour back on February the 16th in Auckland, the 2020 International. And this is the first time he's bowling in a match since then. Couldn't bowl at all during the New Zealand series, and that really was a setback for the West Indies. On balance, their team, he was played purely as a batsman. Didn't bowl either for Trinidad and Tobago as they went through to the final and eventually the championship of the Caribbean Challenge. And in the conditions here, it's been a gutsy performance by the 2 Zimbabweans. Duffin, the captain, big responsibility on him. And here's Chibaba, who is only 19 and only in his second one-day international, had the mortification of seeing a ball dribble back onto his stumps without removing the bail before he had scored against Fidel Edwards, but has seen it through. And is getting runs from low full tosses. We'll get a second here.
I agree, Tony. I think the Zimbabwe side have shown plenty of pluck, if you like, in what's quite a difficult situation to come and play their first game. The problem is, of course, in one-day cricket you don't have to take wickets. It's really just an equation of runs and overs, and that's certainly looking at into the 17th over strongly in favour of the West Indies.
Good judgment for the last ball of the over. 17 gone, 36 for 1. Bradshaw starts over number 18. Only just a sprinkling of spectators. They've certainly grown in numbers since the first ball was bowled. It's a lovely morning here in St. John's. I would imagine that a few spectators would have come across from Nevis, which is a neighboring island, to see Renaka Morton, who did so well in New Zealand, and Nevisian, and they're playing for the first time here in Antigua for the West Indies. Made his international debut last season against Pakistan in one-day internationals, and then really was a revelation on the tour of New Zealand, both in one-day internationals and the tests, Renaka Morton. So some of his people would have obviously come over from Nevis to see him in action here, and come over for the weekend, a long weekend. Of course, Monday is Labor Day.
I think really now that we're into this next phase and this pitch is drying out a little bit, it's now the impetus starts to move to the Zimbabwean batsman. And I mentioned before, anything that's full and wide can be attacked. Anything that's full and straight can be attacked. Anything short can start to be looked at now. I also think that perhaps if they have the confidence, they can start to manipulate length. And what I mean by that is that sort of delivery there that Bradshaw is getting away with. Perhaps the batsman could think about moving forward out of his crease and positioning himself there in his stance prior to the ball being bowled, so he can start moving around in the crease slightly. Two balls towards the bowler, he can take a little step out. There he is, you're starting to see that. He can move back in the stance for, say, a couple of balls. He can even move towards the bowler, taking a step as he bowls, hoping that it'll be difficult for the bowler. The bowler will start to see him move and he'll drop it short. So he tries to manipulate length by his position on the pitch, but it takes some confidence to do that. And whether the Zimbabwe batsmen have that confidence is yet to be seen. So you can see there, a little shimmy forward. That's good. Now he has to not stay there the whole time.
Single breaks a maiden over, just a single off the last ball. 18 overs gone, 37 for 1. Little discussion between the batsmen there. Now, what do we do from here on? We've already got 18 overs gone. We've only got 37 on the board. Pitch beginning to get somewhat better. We've got the batsman considered the best in the Zimbabwe side, Taylor, to come. And now Phelan Edwards resumes the bowling. 4 overs at the start. Certainly nothing near his top pace, just looking for control, line and length, and hoping that the pitch will give him something.
Well, I think that Edwards in his first spell just tried to bowl too fast. It's one of those pitches, I said, that's a control pitch. It rewards accuracy. And just to run in hard and bowl short and see the ball fly past the batsman might look dangerous, but in fact it's not. You've got to try and bring, first of all, you've got to bowl straight. And the West Indies have bowled a little wide this morning. You've got to bowl straight, and if it's a little bit short and you do get some lift, then you bring certain fieldsmen into position and into dangerous position. Gullies, leg gully, just in front of point. I just don't think we've seen enough of that today. It's just cricket savvy that we haven't seen enough of from the West Indies. What we've also seen now is because Zimbabwe have saved wickets in a sense, they haven't lost 4 wickets. They've now got the middle order. The pressure is going to come on them to say thanks to these 2 batsmen who have managed to brave this out. They're the ones who are going to have to put the pressure on the West Indies bowlers from now on. The other thing that surprises me too, Tony, is that 38 off 18 overs isn't as if the run rate is very fast. You could have had fieldsmen in those close-in catching positions. That might have gone by now. That might be an opportunity lost. Hasn't been as if they've been hit around.
You can say it's a very strange one-day international scene. I suppose because of the circumstances. India come here later on. You just wonder what the approach would have been had the opponents been India. And India coming out and you know, playing shots, playing more aggressively. West Indies haven't had any pressure on them at all, so leave well enough alone, I suppose.
See, now that's a delivery I think that's wide enough, that Chibaba's been in long enough now that he can start to play that ball. He's not looking for an uppercut. See, that's wide enough. He's getting himself so far across to off stump that it's really cutting the room down that he had there. He's got a third man in. You can see him in the distance. Got a backward point there, closest to the camera as well, but he could actually cut that ball, and that's what I'd like to see develop now in this innings.
You can't even get a full toss away. That surely was a gift. Not accepted. 38 for 1. So a couple of boundaries we've had, one from Duffin, one from Chibaba, but in consecutive overs. Those have been the only two we've had. Runs continue to be very difficult for the inexperienced Zimbabweans. Boy facing now, for instance, Chibaba is 19 years of age, and his second one-day international.
That's a good shot. That's the sort of stroke I think that he's got to play and give as much strike as he can to Duffin. And it's a little bit wide. The angle is naturally going across, and he just opens the face. And he can run it down towards third man with relative safety. He had an advantage, of course, that he gets off strike. So I think over the next half an hour, what I'd like to see is the Zimbabwe side start to assert itself a little bit more. They've had to defend, and quite stoutly. But now, having still got 9 wickets remaining for themselves, they can start to play some strokes. We'll just start to see what their stroke-making capabilities are like. These two and the next couple of players as well, to start to put some pressure back on the West. That's the sort of thing. And they're getting enough opportunities.
He's very strong in that area, Duffin. We've seen that already. That's a gift. That was short, it was wide, and he had ample time to play the cut shot. Hit it very hard into the ground, and bouncing over Dwayne Smith's head and to the boundary for 4. Bradshaw, usually the tightest of the West Indies bowlers, finding some difficulty in maintaining length and line here.
See, now that was the time, I think, that Duffin could actually go out of his crease. He'd had a short ball and wide, so the characteristics I'd mentioned. If anything is short, you look to score. If anything is wide, you look to score. He got both of them in one delivery, so it was a present. The next ball, of course, the bowler's going to be thinking, I've got to pitch up more. Now, that's the opportunity for a batsman to move out of his crease even further.
That ends the over from Bradshaw. And after 20 overs, Zimbabwe sent in on what has been a difficult pitch for them, 44 for 1. In the air, just wide of Lara. And they should have looked for the overthrow, but they've settled for the one. Certainly would have been the opportunity for a second, but they weren't paying enough attention. Lara going back. Shababa now just beginning to open up, taking a chance and just clearing Lara. They only ran the single. Duffin in strike now, and Michael Holding comes into the commentary box, and with him is Pami Mbangwa.
Thank you, Tony. Not the best of starts by Zimbabwe, but they certainly are putting in some sort of a recovery. Important thing in these limited over games is to keep wickets in hand, so that you can try and accelerate the rate a bit later on. Sure, 20 overs, 45 runs, nothing to write home about. But once you have those wickets in hand, you have a chance of accelerating that scoring rate later on in the innings. Not the best of pitches on which to bat. Lara, don't think will be totally happy having taken that early wicket, but he still has things pretty much under control.
Wide is called. The one criticism that Lara could have on his bowlers is that they haven't bowled straight enough. That's a look at the run out, or the run out appeal, I should say. Made his ground, one would say, comfortably. He'd be comfortable that he's still out there. Brian Lara would have liked his bowlers to bowl a bit straighter, make the Zimbabweans play a lot more than they have.
And perhaps even a bit fuller, Pommy. Bowling a bit short on this pitch, which has been a bit slow.
What they have done is that they've, Fidel Edwards particularly, he's run up and he's bowled back of a length and short, tried some bounces here and there, and then gone for the Yorker. He'd probably be more successful just getting the ball on just back of a drive length. Here's the last delivery, looking for the Yorker, not quite in that hole. If he goes back of a length, bringing the batsman forward and straight, with the way the pitch is behaving, odds on you're going to get one that's going to pop and go through to slip or go up in the air.
Yes.
That's unusual. Don't see that man misfielding that often.
A couple of very good fielders in the West Indies side, and this man is one of them. He's very quick across the ground, gets there in good time, and he's just taken his eye off the ball because he's looking for the run out. Terence Duffin not very quick. And Dorian Smith that time not able to effect the run out, the ball not in his hand. So a comfortable single in the end.
He's certainly not afraid to play his drives.
He's looking down and thinking to himself, I deserve 4 for that. Didn't quite place it. Closes the face on those drives quite a bit. He's probably looking to get that to the left of Brian Lara at mid-off. Because of that bottom hand, the ball going straighter than he'd like. He's on 18. Been gutsy. But at some point, one of these two batsmen is going to have to take it on.
I think that will go all the way. It was a slow delivery from Fidel Edwards, but not well directed. It's 51 for 1. Six overs for 15 runs for Fidel Edwards. Nothing wrong with those figures. I'm sure he would love to have something in the 4th column though on the W wickets. Down to 1 slip now. Bradshaw bowling from the Vivian Richards pavilion end. Chris Gale, the man in the slip.
That's a bit of length, and what Brian Lara and Bradshaw have done is reinforce that point region that Duffin likes so much. There's a man at backward point, and then there's a man on point. Very strong in that area. Could argue that Bradshaw should not be bowling that short and shouldn't be allowing Duffin the opportunity to play in that region. Justice Chibaba going along quite nicely, and it sort of pleased him no end, particularly with what happened towards the beginning of the over. This is the last ball of Fidel Edwards over. A slower delivery, just tucked away nicely down to fine leg, and fine enough to get to the boundary and get him 4 runs. Called wide down the leg side.
I think he was lucky actually to get away with the first delivery that was outside off stump. Billy Bowden gave him a bit of leeway on that occasion, but of course anything down the leg side will be called.
Just watching this West Indian performance and watching the bowlers go along in the fields that have been set with all that's happening, and taking into consideration who they're playing against, the Zimbabweans who are struggling, and as far as the youth of the side and the inexperience of the side, you don't get the feeling that they're trying to blast the Zimbabwean outfit out. Why would that be?
I agree with you. It doesn't seem as if they are desperately trying to get 10 wickets. Tommy, I don't really want to put this forward as the reason, but I understand the West Indies captain at the press conference yesterday said that he was out there pretty much building bridges with the Zimbabwe team. They're going to be putting their arms around them and looking after them, and not too sure why that should be.
What do you mean, out on the field or off the field after the game?
Well, I would have been hoping it would have been off the field after the game and show Zimbabweans a good time in the Caribbean and show them the nice areas of the Caribbean beaches. A couple of night spots, not too many. Yeah, do have gaps in the tour, but I wasn't expecting it to be happening out on the field. taking it easy on the opposition. That's one bounce for 56 for 1.
Bradshaw, pretty accurate. 5 overs now for 19. Won't be happy with the 6. Would not have expected it at all. 50 partnership as well. Oh, with the 4, I should have said it. 50 partnership. Two fellas that have gone out here.